Khorne here, and today I will be remaking an old guide I did on how to play Skarbrand. Mostly because the previous video was not all that great, and because I still hear people saying that Khorne is intimidating to play for beginners. So I'm here to dispel that notion and show you that caving in the skulls of your enemies using your own is really not as difficult as it seems. Now, Skarbrand is objectively the strongest faction in the game, and anybody who would tell you otherwise is a depraved Slaaneshi worshipper. But I also believe that Khorne as a race is probably one of the best races you can play as a beginner, as it has fairly simple armies to use on the battlefield, is rather forgiving when it comes to playing them on the campaign map, and can teach you a different way of playing the game than just your standard empire builder. And really, there are only two things you need to do to be successful in your Skarbrand campaigns. Number one is to spill blood, and lots of it. And number two is to claim as many skulls as you can. How you can do these two things are fairly simple, just fight as many battles as often as possible. First, let's talk about Khorne's unique race and faction mechanics. When playing as the Exiles of Khorne, you will notice you have a unique resource in skulls. You gain skulls by fighting battles, raising settlements, and collecting skull piles, which are left behind after large-scale battles. Skulls can be used in 3 different ways: to activate the Skull Throne ability, to begin researching technologies, and finally to occupy settlements. You see, unlike most other factions in the game, the Exiles of Khorne can't occupy settlements whenever they wish, but instead are required to pay 2,500 skulls in order to do so. Which might seem rough at first, but there are other ways of occupying settlements. If you occupy a single region in a province, that settlement will give you a percentage chance of occupying ruins in that province. A good way to maximize this and not have to spend too many skulls on occupying settlements is by raising every settlement that isn't a capital settlement in a province and just occupying the capital. That way you have a defendable position and won't have to invest too many resources to expand your territory. When it comes to building up your territory, you'll want to build up your capital settlement first, get walls, military buildings, and advanced military buildings as soon as possible, and leave any ruins that you passively occupy as, well, ruins. This for a multitude of reasons, namely because you don't need to upgrade your minor settlements or your provinces for that matter in order to do well in your campaigns. Mostly because of a mechanic called Bloodletting, which we will talk about soon. Your settlements are also rather difficult to defend due to their small garrison, as well as the fact that when playing as Khorne, you'll mostly be focused on being on the attack rather than defense. Only after you have annihilated any threat to your minor settlements in the area should you start building them up. Now let's talk about Bloodletting, the reason why you're able to get away with not building up your minor settlements. You may have noticed, but your settlements don't have any growth buildings, and that is because growth is tied directly to how many battles you fight. Each of your armies has a bar to fill, called Bloodletting, by fighting battles. The more battles you fight, the more the bar fills. You usually have 1 to 2 turns before Bloodletting starts dropping, so you should always be looking to fight as many battles as you possibly can. In order to fill Bloodletting, your army doesn't have to be the attacker. It just has to be involved with battles. So having armies reinforce each other will lead to you getting more global bonuses. These global bonuses include growth for every province and casualty replenishment for every army. Aside from global bonuses, Bloodletting also reduces the upkeep cost for that army and reduces the time it takes for that army to recruit units globally. This makes it so you can always recruit units on the go and not have to slow down. But if your Bloodletting is low, you get negatives such as lowered melee attack and negative growth. I would never recommend having armies just sit idle in your settlements doing nothing, as there is nothing more insulting to the Blood God. And if the army truly doesn't have anything to do, simply disband it. Something that also allows you to always be on the offense are your faction bonuses. The ability to replenish in foreign territory and campaign movement after raising settlements. The campaign movement replenishment after raising settlements is nothing major for your generic armies, but does play a crucial role for how you use Skarbrand, which we will talk about later on. What really does help all of your armies is the ability to replenish in foreign territory. As in tandem with Bloodletting, you will usually be fully replenished at the start of your turns, no matter where you are located. Razing settlements is extremely important when playing as the Exiles of Khorne, as if you choose to raise a settlement, you will get two options. One is to claim 1,000 skulls of your enemies, or two, to summon a demonic host, otherwise known as a blood host. Blood hosts are purely demonic armies which can't replenish and have a turn timer which after it runs out they start taking attrition. The only way to further add time is to fight battles with your blood host directly. Your blood hosts also have a bloodletting bar, which is just another bonus you get on top of a army recruited essentially for free. Blood hosts also do not add to your supply lines, but are affected by them, so having more armies than you need is rather detrimental, and giving you yet another reason to not have armies idle in your settlements. When deciding whether or not you need to raise more blood hosts, you have to see if you will be able to use them in the upcoming battles, or if you need to just replace your already badly damaged blood hosts. When it comes to your economy, well, it is directly tied to how many battles you fight. Your settlements don't have any options when it comes to getting income, and in a similar manner to the Skaven, you get just a small amount of income from every building. But unlike the Skaven, they can't get anywhere near as much income. So instead of having the mindset of your economy needing to be in the green for you to not go bankrupt, you have to start thinking of your armies as your income buildings. Most of your armies will be blood hosts, which don't require a recruitment cost. So aside from their upkeep, which you can reduce by fighting battles, they will always be a net positive for your economy, so long as they are constantly fighting battles. Now, I am explaining it like this, mostly because I see a lot of people comment, "Oh, but because of your red income, you only have just a few turns left before your money runs out. Therefore, it is bad having loads of blood hosts, and Khorne is weak because of their bad economy." When in reality, Khorne's economy isn't his buildings, but rather it's his armies. So the more armies you have, the more income you will have at the end of your turn. And if your armies aren't capable of fighting battles, you can always just disband them. So really, in a strange sort of manner, the more into the red you are, the more income you will get, and not the other way around. Now, the Exiles of Khorne also have some extremely powerful faction abilities in the Unholy Manifestations and the Skull Throne ability. First, let's talk about the Skull Throne ability, that is located as a big red button at the top of your screen, which once activated gives your blood host created during the effects of the Skull Throne more units, gives you bonuses to construction, gives you the Summon from Beyond ability to all of your armies, which is a massive boost to your campaign, as summoning Bloodletters atop of enemy units can in most cases just straight up win you battles. Also, another 15% movement replenishment after raising settlements. It is a good idea to always have the Skull Throne ability active whenever possible, as the bonuses it provides are absolutely essential to win your campaigns. As for the Unholy Manifestations, there are 4 in total, and you really only need to care about 2. The first one, which is Eternal War, that summons a small army for you to fight, and Call to Battle, which gives you 50% campaign movement. The third and the fourth one are not really essential. The third one just lets you claim more skulls after fighting battles, and the fourth one, which makes your army unable to move in enemy territory, and after a certain period of time, just raises the enemy settlement and gives you a lot of skulls. The Unholy Manifestations, unlike the Skull Throne ability though, are not essential to use, as they don't benefit your other armies too much, but for Skarbrand it is a whole different story. You should almost always exclusively use the first 2 Unholy Manifestations on Skarbrand, as in combination with his unique trait and skill line makes him the strongest lord in the game. The reason for this is because you can essentially have Skarbrand demolish the entire map in just one turn. Skarbrand's unique trait gives him 25% campaign movement replenishment after winning battles. His unique skill line gives him another 25%, so by winning battles you replenish 50% of your campaign movement. This can stack with your movement replenishment after Razing settlements. So 15% from your faction bonus, 15% from your Skull Throne ability, 7% from a follower you get, and if you manage to play the campaign for long enough, you get a bit more from your technology tree. Adding all of them up, you can get 100% campaign movement replenishment after Razing settlements. So giving him more campaign movement range with your Unholy Manifestation, hero actions and traits can make him be able to demolish the entire map in literally a single turn. A few more tips I can give you for Skarbrand is not to put any skill points into his skill tree after you reach rank 7, but instead save the skill points for after he reaches rank 13, and then put all 6 skill points into his unique skill line, which besides the 25% campaign movement replenishment, also gives Skarbrand regeneration, some combat stats, and also makes any future blood host you raise have more units in it, so boosting your faction strengths overall. I have also seen many people ask how you can use Skarbrand's movement properly after Razing settlements, as they go backwards and can't capitalize on the bonus movement. And it is quite simple. You either position Skarbrand to attack the settlement from the direction you want him to go after razing it, or you can select him after razing a settlement and press backspace to stop him from moving backwards. Don't forget that you can also use your quest battle as a sort of stepping stone to be able to reach enemies you otherwise wouldn't, as it still counts as a battle won and will replenish 50% of your movement. When it comes to building up your armies, well, there really isn't much to it. Just make sure you have melee infantry that can hold a line, and units that can kill the enemy, especially fast units to reach the enemy back line. Either that or just get armies filled with Chosen and Minotaurs, as those will deal with almost anything the game can throw at you. You also really don't need dedicated anti-large units in your armies, as Exalted Bloodthirsters and Exalted Heroes can fill that role quite well, and even if you don't have them, your units can still deal decent damage to single entities, even if they aren't specialized against them. Well, this would be as good a guide as I can give you. And I really hope people realize that Khorne isn't as scary a faction to play as they believe it to be. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe for future content. Thank you all for watching, and until next time.
Khorne fights as one.